Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can continue.
सर एक्चुअली कहाँ से मेरा हो, चलो मैं स्टार्ट कर देता हूँ फिर से इसी को.
Due to some
Sir, from
technical
very
glitch,
first
it
slide,
is-
sir.
ओके ओके. So I'll be talking about bioremediation technique for the solid waste management. So first of all, I'm going to define what is the solid waste. So in general, when we define solid waste, then solid waste is considered as any unwanted or useless solid material which is generated from human activities in residential, industrial, or commercial areas. So any solid waste which is generated from residential, industrial, and commercial area can generally be included in the solid waste. And these waste, according to their origin, according to their contents, and according to the kind of hazard they impose, they can be categorized into these three categories. Depending upon the origin of waste, they can be classified as domestic solid waste, industrial solid waste, commercial solid waste, the solid waste generated by the construction activity, and institutional solid waste. Then, depending upon the content, we can classify the solid waste into organic materials. The solid waste which contain carbon content, which is organic in nature. So that can be one kind of solid waste. The waste which is generated by glass, scrap metal, then plastic. Now this is one of the very important case because we are dealing with a lot of problems, the waste which is generated in the form of plastic, and then paper. So depending upon the content which are present in the solid waste, this can be another classification of solid waste. Then on the basis of the nature of hazard, the solid waste can be classified as toxic waste, the waste which imposes directly toxic effect on human beings or animals or plants. Then there can be non-toxic solid waste, which does not directly affect the living beings. Then we have flammable solid waste, radioactive solid waste, as well as infectious solid waste. So these are the major categories as far as the solid waste is concerned. Now, when we define the solid waste scientifically, then the scientific definition, the first scientific definition was given in 1976 under the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, RCRA, under section 1427. Now, according to it, the solid waste is any garbage or refuse, or it includes sludge from the wastewater treatment plants, from water supply treatment plants, even the solid waste which is generated by air pollution control facilities, and any other discarded material from industrial uses, other commercial uses, mining activities, and agriculture operations. Besides that, any other community activities. So in RCRA, the solid waste was defined in more broader perspectives. not only included the discarded materials by common human activities, but also included all other solid waste which is generated from so-called pollution controlling facilities. Then, as you know, in day-to-day life, we use chemicals for our clothing needs. And these clothes, after a certain duration of use, then they are accumulated as a solid waste. We require fuel for powering our vehicles. Now, extraction of fuel and its refining generates a lot of solid waste. Besides that, to power our homes, one of the major source of electricity is coal-based electric stations. And combustion of coal in such areas obviously produces quite a lot amount of ash and other form of fly ash. Then, in order to increase our food harvest and control pest, we use number of different artificial fertilizers. We use pesticides, herbicides, and when they are mixed with soil, they generate another kind of waste. And one of the major solid waste generators are our containers, the packaging materials. They are generating a huge amount of waste, which is quite visible in our communities also and near to our homes also. You can see large number of packaging materials lying here and there or even flying in the air in our societies. So, as far as the solid waste is concerned, it is not limited to the waste which are physically solid. There are many solid waste which may be liquid in origin, which may be semi-solid in origin, or maybe a gaseous material. For example, when we are carrying out combustion of any gas or any liquid fuel, then it generates indirectly some solid waste. So, as far as the solid waste is concerned, it includes any material that is discarded by being abandoned. Here the term abandoned means anything which is thrown away. Any material which is disposed of, which is burned, incinerated or recycled, it will be included in solid waste. Then inherent waste include the materials that poses threat to the human health as well as environment. They are also considered as solid waste. These include certain polyaromatic hydrocarbon, dioxins, etc., which are also toxic to us. Then one major solid waste is discarded military munition. Basically, military munitions include all the military weapons, ammunitions, equipments. So these all are included in military munitions. And it's include all the components which are used to produce these which are used by armed forces for national defense and security. When these weapons or these articles, which are either unused or defective, they also generate solid waste besides the material which have been used. So all those ammunitions which are abundant, even which are treated prior to disposal, which are rendered non-recyclable or non-usable through deterioration, which are declared as waste by authorized military officials, then even the used munitions, they also generate solid waste. So a large amount of solid waste is also generated during the defense activities also, whether they are due to war or any practice sessions. Then there are certain solid waste which can be recycled in certain ways. These include all those material which can be recycled, which can be used or reused as an ingredient in any process, or it can be reclaimed or used in certain ways. All these things, they are basically, if we find those things which can be recycled or reused, depending upon certain conditions, they can be excluded also. And all these conditions have been defined in the Code of Federal Regulations, CFR, at 40 CFR section 261(4)(a). And many of material which can be properly reused, which can be properly reclaimed, can be recycled, they have been excluded from these solid waste. And these all things have been defined under this section. So anything which do not meet all these conditions, they are not solid waste, according to RCRA regulations. So that is how technically solid waste have been defined. Now, if we consider what is the extent of problem the solid waste is generating, if we consider globally, simply if we consider in terms of MSWS, municipal solid waste, currently global municipal solid waste generation levels are around 1.3 billion tons per year. So we all over the world, we are generating 1.3 billion tons of municipal solid waste every year. And this solid waste is expected to increase approximately to 2.2 billion tons per year by 2025 year. So it poses a serious issue. If we consider in India we are generating around 0.1 million tons of municipal solid waste every day. Every day we are generating 0.1 million tons of municipal solid waste, which is approximately 36.5 million tons annually. And if we calculate per capita waste generation in major Indian cities, then it ranges from 0.2 to 0.6 kilogram per day. It is 0.2 to 0.6 kilogram per day. It has been found that the solid waste generation in India has increased with its demographic growth. We are having an ever increasing population. So with the increase in population, the number of articles which we are using, the number of requirement are increasing. So that demographic growth have an exponential effect as far as the solid waste is concerned. Even urbanization is also playing a major role. As our guest had already told us that if we consider the living standards in old time in our country, then we used to generate quite a less amount of waste in our day-to-day activities. But with the increased urbanization, the extent of solid waste which we are generating has been increasing. Then along with industrialization, that is also contributing. Then one major source is the our increasing need of energy. Then there can be numerous factors. There are few of these. I had mentioned a few of these over here. Now, if we consider how population growth in India have been contributing in the generation of solid waste, these data have been taken from the provisional population totals, the population data from 2011. So here you will find that we have taken what is the basic percentage increase in population, decadal increase in population, and how does the solid waste generation have increased during after the demographic calculation which have scientifically carried out in our country. The first demographic calculation was carried out in 1911, where the population was around 252 millions. And the decadal growth at that time was 13.6. Average exponential growth, if we calculate, it was around 0.56. And from 1911 to 1921, then 1921, 41, and up to 2011, there is an increase in population. And except here from 2011 to 2021, where there was decline in population, decadal growth, that was again due to a pandemic which struck all over the world at that time also. Besides that, you will find that there is always a positive growth. And as far as the progressive growth is concerned, we find that this progressive growth with reference to 1911, it is always increasing. And by 2011, we have progressive growth of, with reference to 2011, in 1911, with reference to 1911, in 2011, the progressive growth was around 407.64%. So we are having an ever increasing population. And how does this population is affecting the solid waste in our country? It has been found that with the growth of mega cities in India, due to globalization of economy, due to globalization of culture, and due to the globalization of technology, there have been an exponential growth in the solid waste around the country. These are the few major cities of the India, along with their approximate population. And you will find that on an average, with increase in population, there is an increase in solid waste which is generated from these cities. Except a few where you will find that even when we are having low population, they are generating more amount of waste. So these are the data. These show this data basically shows major cities in India, and it's per capita waste generation from 2010 to 11. The source is Census of India 2011. In Ahmedabad, as we know, the population was around 6.3 million. The total waste generated in tons per day is 2,300 tons per day. Per capita waste generation is 0.36. In Hyderabad, where population is around 7.7 million, the total waste generated is 4,200 tons per day. Per capita waste generation is 0.54. In Bangalore, 8.4 million. The total waste generated is 3,700, and per capita waste generation is 0.44. In Chennai, 8.6 million. Total waste generated per day is 4,500 tons, and per capita waste generation is 0.52. Kolkata, 14.1 million. The total waste generated per day is 3,617 tons per day. And per capita waste generation is bit low for as far as the Kolkata is concerned. In Delhi, 16.3, in Mumbai, 18.4. You will find that again, the per capita waste generation is the per day waste generation is quite high, although the per capita waste generation here decreases. So on an average, you will find that with the increase in population, the per capita waste generated is increasing. If we include all the cities, then if you consider the cities which are having population less than 0.1 million, which are nearly 8 cities, the per capita waste generated is 0.17 to 0.54 per day. For the cities with population between 0.1 to 0.5 million, this include 11 cities, the per capita per day waste generated ranges from 0.22 to 0.59. For cities with population 1 to 2 million, which includes 16 cities, it is 0.19 to 0.53. And with population greater than 2 million, which include 13 cities, it is 0.22 to 0.60. So on an average, if we consider, with increase in population, there is increase in per capita waste generation per day. So in India, we are generating basically 1,33,760 tons of municipal solid waste per day, out of which 91,152 tons are collected and approximately only 25,884 tons are treated. This data I had taken from the Central Pollution Control Board publication 2000. And you will find that the amount of waste which we are generating and the amount of the waste which we are treating, there is a large gap between these two. And we need to address this problem. This is the complete scenario of our country. Here we have divided the different states according to the metric ton of the municipal solid waste which is generated over there. Here you will find that at the top we are having Maharashtra, which is generated the maximum amount of waste. And then the next one is the next states are UP, Tamil Nadu, and West Bengal, where the amount of waste generated ranges from 11,523 to 1,23,363 tons per day. MP, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Karnataka, and Mizoram stands at the third position, where it ranges from 3,842 to 7,662 tons per day. Then rest of the state can be considered as the states where there is lower waste generation. So Jammu and Kashmir, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Goa. So all these states, they all have less than 3,841 tons per day of waste generated. So this is altogether scenario as far as our country is concerned, as far as the municipal solid waste is concerned. Now the general composition of municipal solid waste in India is, it has been found that there's a local economic impact as far as this composition is concerned. As we move towards the high income group, hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. Please continue.
Okay. So as we move towards high income group, they tend to use more packaged products. which result in higher volumes of plastics, paper, glass, metals, as well as textiles. The municipal solid waste also contains some hazardous waste such as pesticides, paints, then used medicine as well as batteries. Then we also include some we also have some compostable organic waste, which includes the waste generated by fruits, vegetable, and other food wastes. Then there is a serious solid waste which is generated from the healthcare system by disposable syringes, sanitary materials, blood-containing textiles. All these wastes which are generated from the healthcare system, they are governed by biomedical waste management and handling rules 1998, which were amended later on in 2003. Truly speaking, these should not be mixed with the municipal solid waste because they can cause some serious issues of infections. So that is basic composition as far as the waste is concerned. In total, if we consider the average percentage by waste composition of municipal solid waste in Indian metro cities, then we are generating near about 41% of compostable solid waste. Then we have 40% of inert solid waste. Then rest 6% of paper, 4% of plastic, 2% of glass, 2% of metal, 4% of textile, and 1% of leather. Now, out of all these solid waste, the two important areas of concern are these inert solid waste and the plastic solid waste. Because as far as the other solid waste are concerned, they can be either recycled or because they are compostable, so they can be used in other ways also. So these are two important areas of concern, and they are making near about 44% of it. And as far as this plastic is concerned, this is ever growing. So we need to think about it. And as far as the organic waste is concerned, most of the organic waste is generated from our households. And as far as this inert waste is concerned, this is generated from construction, demolition, and road sweeping. So these are major contributors as far as the inert waste are concerned. So how population growth is impacting the solid waste generation in future? If we consider in the, as far as these data are concerned, these are the actual data and these are basically the predictions. So you will find that after 2011, obviously we are going to have census this year also. So it is expected that by 2021, the population of India will be around 342.8 million. And the per capita waste generation, you will find that there is increase in population. Along with increase in population, the per day, per capita waste generation is increasing. And the total waste which is generated per year, there is a large increase. And if we compare it with 2001, you'll find that there is increase in more than 5 times. We are going to increase the total solid waste generated by more than 5 times. So it is a serious issue which we need to think about. Now, how the waste composition of Indian garbage is changing from 2000 to 2025. One of the studies have been reported that in India, the organic waste will go up from 40% to 60% by 2025. The plastic will rise from 4% to 6%. Now, this can be an area of concern. Then metal will escalate from 1% to 4%. Glass from 2 to 3%. Paper from 5 to 15%. These are not so important because they can be easily recycled. Then, as far as the other waste, ash, sand, and grit is concerned, it is going to decrease. So this is an as far as a good figure as far as the solid waste is concerned. But we need to think about this also because plastic waste is ever growing in our country. Now, if we compare the solid waste which is generated by our country as compared to our neighboring countries. So here we have given a comparison between the increase in urban population along with the change in the waste generated in India, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. So in all of these countries, there has been increase in urbanization. There is no doubt about that. But along with the increase in urbanization, the extent of solid waste which we are generating is quite high as compared to our neighboring countries also. So we need to check this ever-growing solid waste which we are generating by inculcating some good habits in our day-to-day life. Then, as far as the nature of waste is concerned, then in India from 2001 to 2005, you will find that there have been increase in most of the types of waste, except this other figures. All the other kind of waste, whether it is biodegradable waste, paper, plastic, glass, metal, textile, and leather, all these kind of waste are increasing. And so is the case with other countries also. But looking into the kind of population we are having, the kind of landscape we are having, we need a better planning for this also. So this is the current status of solid waste in India in million tons per year. The major contributor to solid waste in our country are coal combustion residues. Because we are using coal for power generation, even we are using coals in railways. So this is the major solid waste contributor, that is coal combustion residues, as far as the India is concerned. The second biggest is bagasse. Bagasse is basically the solid waste which is generated after use of sugarcane. So we are generating a large amount of waste by the use of sugarcane. We are having our ever-growing demand of sugar in our country. Then the third most contribution is from the coal mine waste. And we will be discussing this a bit in detail, how to treat this coal mine waste, what can be the idea which can be used for treating the coal mine waste. It is the third most contributor. Then you have municipal waste, then rice husk, then limestone waste, jute fiber, and then there are other. So these are the major contributors as far as the solid waste in our country is concerned. If we consider in India, we are generating around 600 metric ton per year of waste from the agriculture sources only, which include sugarcane bagasse, paddy, wheat straw, husk, waste of vegetables, food products, tea, oil production, jute fiber, groundnut shell, wooden meal waste, coconut husk, cotton stalk, and so on. And these are the waste, except a few, of these, because sugarcane bagasse poses some problem. The paddy waste also poses some problem because they are not biodegradable, not so easily biodegradable. Rest of these waste, they can be reused, they can be recycled, they can be composted. So, but we require a foolproof plan for that so that we can easily reduce at least these contributors in our solid waste are concerned. And these are the common pictures we see around us. In order to just emphasize what kind of a problem is generated by the solid waste, I had taken some pictures. So these are the common pictures we see around us. We not only are generating solid waste due to which the land are occupying this solid waste, we are creating this kind of dump yards in the urban cities. We have not left even the water. There are a lot of solid waste which are accumulated in water also. The water bodies are also accumulating quite an amount of solid waste. And how these solid waste can create a direct problem for us besides the indirect problem. You all might be familiar with this particular incident. In Delhi, that is the Ghazipur incident. This incident took place on 2nd September 2017, where the Ghazipur landfill, which was the main garbage dumping spots in national capital, there was collapse. There a large amount of this landfill fell down on the road beside it, and there are a few vehicles which were moving on the road. They were pushed into the canal which was flowing adjoining to it, and 2 lives were also lost during this incident. So this is the serious issue we need to encounter. And as far as this Ghazipur solid waste dump yard is concerned, there was a recent report of Parliamentary Standing Committee of Science and Technology, Environment and Forest. This Ghazipur basically covers 29 acres of garbage dump, and this was commissioned in 1985 for dumping daily solid waste. The pile itself has grown exponentially from 60 meter in 2017 to 65 meter in an year. And I have taken a very interesting comparison over here. This is the height of Ghazipur dump yard, the dump which is created over there. And this is the height of Qutub Minar at the Delhi. And it is only 8 meters short as far as the height of Qutub Minar is concerned. This picture was taken around in 2018 and 19. So this gap might have reduced by now also. So this is causing a serious problem, and these kind of dump yards have been created in all the major cities of India. And due to all these problems, these are the common picture which we encounter in the national capital. In the December and January month, there is always news in the news channel that there is a smog formation. And due to this smog formation, the air quality index of the capital increases, due to which there are a lot of breathing troubles, etc. The students move to the schools by wearing the mask even before the corona incident. And you might be remembering this incident also when during the cricket match which was played at the Firozshah Kotla, some of the Sri Lankan players used the mask in order to avoid the direct effect of the smog. These are also some sports events which were carried out in at Delhi during the winter season, and the participant used mask in order to avoid the direct contact with the smoke. So as far as the system of air quality and weather forecasting SAFAR is concerned, which is a government agency, it has been reported that the stubble burning has accounted for 33% of Delhi's air pollution, which is highest during the months of December and January. And the pollution which is caused by the crop burning has ranged from 5 to 33%. During normal days, it is around 5%, but during December and January, it rises to around 33%. And due to which there is formation of smog in the Delhi, and it is causing problem over there during particular these 2 months where the temperature is quite low. So we need to address these problems very seriously. So what's the problem associated with the solid waste? The problem associated with the solid waste is how to dispose and or remove these products after use or after accidental spillage. Various material which we use in our day-to-day life, after their use, once they are not useful to us, we need to dispose of. We need to use certain mechanism to dispose them of. Then we need to remove these products after use or even after accidental spillage. So as far as the conventional methods are concerned, one of the conventional method is landfilling. The picture which I had shown you, landfilling is basically it confines the pollution. We remove the solid waste from one area and it is dumped in another area. But these certain garbage survive for decades. Then what to do about it? Then there was another method, that is incineration. That we carry out combustion of this solid waste. But that poses another problem, that is disposal of ash and other residues, besides adding to the air pollution. So basically, if we consider these landfilling and incineration, they are not providing solution. We are simply delaying the problems. The problems will be created after some time because these are not the foolproof method for dealing with the solid waste. Then if we consider the landfilling and dumping, then these dumps have adverse impacts on the environment as well as public health. These open dumps release methane on decomposition. All the biodegradable waste which is present over there, on decomposition, it generates methane. Methane not only causes fires and explosion, but it also causes global warming. So we need to reduce it. Then there are problems associated with the odor, the kind of smell which is around these dump yards. And in India, we have a long summer season. And during the summer season, we have ambient temperature for the microbial growth. So this odor problem also poses serious problems. Then there is migration of leachates to the receiving waters. When the water flows through these dump yards, it takes certain toxics dissolved in it and they are mixed with the waters. Then these dump yards which contain discarded tires, they collect water and they basically provide a breeding ground for mosquitoes, which also increases the risk of diseases like malaria, dengue, and West Nile fever. So, besides these direct health problems, there is another problem associated with landfilling and dumping. That is the amount of land required for this landfilling and dumping. You will find that there are certain data which are obviously factual data by 2020, and later on there are predictions, and you will find that there is a growth in the land demand for landfilling or dumping also. So how we are going to deal with this demand, ever growing demand of the land, which is short for our population also. So are we able to manage or waste it for landfilling and dumping purposes? Then another method which we discussed was incineration. Incineration is basically an uncontrolled burning of the waste at the dumping sites also. it releases certain fine particles which are major cause of respiratory diseases and causes smog also. Then open burning of municipal solid waste and tires emits near about 22,000 tons of pollutants into atmosphere in Mumbai every year. Then what can be the amount if we consider the whole country? As far as the impact of poor waste management is concerned, on public health is concerned, these are well documented and it causes nose and throat infections, breathing difficulties, inflammation, bacterial infection, anemia, reduced immunity, and other allergies and asthma also. So, besides the coronavirus, the throat infection and lung infection can also be carried out by this incineration process, which is used for treating the solid waste. So we need to seriously need to think about it. So these are the various methods which are used in our neighboring countries, including India, for the disposing of the solid waste. And you will find that in all these countries, the major treatment is either open dumping. All these countries, they are using open dumping. Then the other contributors are landfilling. Then incineration. Third one. Then if we consider comparatively good practices, composting, and 3 R's. Basically, 3 R's are reduce, reuse, and recycle. Although in India, we are having quite a good percentage in 3 R's, but in rest of the country, you will find that it is quite small. So we need to actually increase these practices. That is composting and 3Rs, and reduce the open dumping, landfilling, and incineration practices as far as the solid waste is concerned. The most common other methods besides landfilling and incinerations are composting. In composting, the solid waste which is generated from fruits, vegetables, or other food articles, they are subjected to microbial treatment, which convert them into organic fertilizers. Then we can use vermicomposting, where the same process is carried out using earth forms. Then there is the process of biomethanation. In biomethanation, all those wastes which can generate methane, they are treated with certain microbes from which methane is generated, and this methane can be used for the energy purposes. Then there are another method which is known as pelletization. Pelletization is basically compressing, molding any article into a pellet. These articles can be chemicals, these can be other metal ores, and plastics also. And another approach can be if we can generate energy from the waste. So these are few good practices which can be used, but here I will be emphasizing on another practice which is known as bioremediation, which we'll be discussing later on. Now, this is the state-wise scenario of municipal solid waste processing facilities in India. How many composting, vermicomposting, biomethanation, pelletization, and waste to energy plants are have been established in various states, and you will find that in most of the part of the table, we are having the value nil. So we need to think seriously about it, because these are the comparatively easy methods which can be used for the treatment of the solid waste. but we are not giving very serious thoughts for treating such. And overall, if we consider in India, there are 279 composting plants, 138 vermicomposting plants, 172 biomethanation plants, only 29 pelletization plants, and only 8 plants where waste have been used for generating the energy. And as far as these pelletization plants are concerned, we need to increase it because we are having a large amount of inert waste which cannot be treated by any of the other method. So we need to increase this one. And we also need to, if we can carry out, we can increase this waste to energy production. So they can be a very good areas of research where we can develop certain methods so that the waste can be used as a source of energy. So as far as the India is concerned, out of the total municipal waste which is collected, on an average, 94% of it is dumped on the land and only 5% of it is composted. So we need to seriously think about in increasing these facilities. These facilities must be increases in different states so that the solid waste can be easily treated in a better manner. Now, I will be emphasizing on another method which is known as a bioremediation method. Bioremediation is basically a multidisciplinary approach in which we use either microorganism or plants. When we use plants, then it is also known as phytoremediation. And the enzymes from these microorganisms or plants, they are used to detoxify the pollutants. Okay? So the enzymes which are present in the microorganism or the plant, they are used for detoxifying the pollutant or for treating the solid waste in our case. As far as this technique is concerned, it involves basically 4 methods. The first step in the method is stimulation. As far as the stimulation is concerned, I had a message in chat box that I am not audible. Is it so? Hello? Am I not audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. Please, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So as far as the stimulation is concerned, here we need to enhance the activities of the microorganism which are present in situ, that is at the place itself, by addition of suitable nutrients. We need to regulate the redox condition at that particular place. We need to regulate the pH and remove all the limiting conditions over there so that microbial growth can take place over there. And once the microbial growth starts over there, then the bioremediation process starts automatically. So as far as our role is concerned, we are playing simply the role of a catalyst in a process. That means the microorganisms are already present in situ. Then we are simply providing suitable condition, optimum condition over there by providing nutrients, by providing all those conditions which are causing limitation for the growth of microorganism, by regulating redox or pH condition, so that the microbial growth can take place. And once the microbial growth is taking place over there, then the process of bioremediation starts automatically. And if the condition is that if the microbes are not present over there, then we can inoculate the specific type of microbes over there which are suitable under the given geographical conditions, which have biotransforming abilities. So we can carry out the inoculation of microbes also. Or we can carry out this process by carrying out direct enzyme treatment. That is, we need to apply the immobilized enzymes to transform or degrade the specific pollutants. This kind of process have been now used in adjoining areas of Delhi to treat the paddy crop waste which is generated over there, so that the paddy crop waste which farmers used to burn after harvest, they can be treated and they can be biodecomposed. So this enzyme treatment technique have been used over there. Then we can use phytoremediation. That is, we need to grow suitable plants at that particular area, which can be used to remove or contain or transform the pollutants which are present at particular site. So these are the four methods which are basically used in the bioremediation technique. Now, this technique have been successfully used in various classes of compounds. It has been used in treatment of gasoline. If there is leakage of any fossil fuel like petrol, diesel, kerosene, etc., then contaminated groundwater or even the contaminated soil, they can be treated by this bioremediation technique. Then contamination by kerosene, pentachlorophenol, and other oil contaminants, they can be also treated by using this bioremediation techniques. We can also treat the compound like naphthalene, phenanthine, which are polyaromatic hydrocarbons, which are very toxic, and other chlorinated hydrocarbons in the contaminated groundwater. They can be treated by using this bioremediation technique. Then this technique can be used for the treatment of chlorinated solvents, chlorinated aromatic compounds, as well as chlorophenols, for treatment of pesticides, for treatment of explosive, also for the treatment of radioactive nuclides and ions. Inorganic ions, they can also be treated by using this bioremediation technique. So, large number of microbes, large number of enzymatic treatments, they are available for treating various types of pollutants or various type of waste which are present in our environment. And even for treating the solid waste also, this technique is very useful. Although by now, if we consider, there are few compounds which have been bioremediated, but still the research is going on to identify the organisms so that we can develop the method which are capable of degrading other various types of pollutants. And this technique, bioremediation, it remains an attractive pollution abatement technology. It has been used and many of the techniques have been developed, but I propose that this technique can also be used for the solid waste management, particularly in the mining areas. As far as our study is concerned, we carried out our study in Rajasthan, particularly in the Bardmer district of the Rajasthan. And this project which we carried out was carried out at the Giral. And as far as the location of Giral is concerned, these are the latitudes. And in Bardmer, the temperature is quite high, but as far as the temperature is concerned, it is not only high, it shows large variation in a day also. Particularly in summers, there are large variation in temperature, and throughout the year, if we consider, we have maximum temperature of around 48 degrees Celsius in summer, and it drops to 2 degrees Celsius during winters. And we have scanty rainfall in Bardmer. That is around average rainfall is 268 millimeter per year. So these were the geographical condition as far as the site was concerned, where we carried out the phytoremediation process. And the remediation was carried out at the lignite mine areas. And there are lignite deposits near Bardmer, Bikaner, Jodhpur and Jaisalmer. These are the districts of Rajasthan where lignite mining have been carried out. There are large deposits of lignite, and the area of around 2,650 kilometers square. And these lignite are present at the depth of around 30 to 50 meters below the surface. And there are near about 8 to 10 seams of lignite which ranges from 0.3 to 2 meter in height in thickness, and they are separated by variegated clay and black clay and shale. Mostly coal mining are done underground, but as far as in Rajasthan are concerned, because the strata is sandy, so it is not possible to carry out the underground mining over here. So open cast mining have been observed over here. And this is the complete strata of the land which is present over there. These are the portion, these are the basically the coal layers which are present, which are separated by shale, black clay, and intermittent clay and variegated clay and greenish clay. And besides that, the top layer is obviously of the sand. And after sand, in this particular region, we have bentonite and subbentonite type of clay which are present. And then we have the other type of clays and intermittent layers of lignite over there. And due to the open cast mining, this was the area where the open cast mining was carried out. This was the first pit, first and the second pit in continuation. First and second pit were there where the open cast mining was carried out. And when the first pit was dug, there was a huge dump yard was created over there. And as far as the land profiling is concerned, obviously due to digging, the profile of the sand over have been reversed as compared to that of the natural sand which was present over there. And due to high sulfur content, particularly in rainy season, there were some exothermic reactions going on over there. And they were, you will find that just after the rain, there was due to the presence of coal in that area and due to certain exothermic reaction, there were intermittent firing which take place spontaneously over there. And due to that particular region, that particular reaction, you will find that there was deposition of sulfur because there was very high sulfur content in the variegated clay and black clay. And thus, after the combustion, there were deposits of sulfur like this. Yellow sulfur gets deposited on the surface. So that was the initial condition when we reached at that particular site. And these were the conditions which were waiting for us. So we carried out the psychochemical analysis of the soil as well as the soil of non-mined area for comparison. And these all data are basically the average of 20 samples. These are the various parameters which were measured. And I'm not going to discuss all these parameters. But you will find that in most of the cases, if we consider electroconductivity is concerned, total carbon, sodium, then calcium, magnesium, and chloride, these all were comparatively high in content as compared to that of normal soil. But the major nutrient which are required for the plant growth or for recycling the sites, that is nitrogen, was very low as compared to that of the normal soil. Then alkaline KMNO4 nitrogen basically shows the nitrogen which is available for the plant directly. So that content was not very good as far as the conditions are concerned, although this content is obviously very low in the sandy areas, but it was less as compared to that of the non-mined sites. Then phosphorus content, the available phosphorus content was very low at the mined soil areas. Then even the trace metal ion and potassium content, you will find that they are not matching. They are not showing any favorable condition for the kind of activity which we need to carry out. And there was negligible enzymatic activity in the soil. There were hardly any activity in that particular soil. So this was the problem which was posed to us. We need to rehabilitate that particular area, and we decided to use the phytoremediation technique in order to rehabilitate that particular area. Around 15 hectares of land was given to us after landfilling and dumping that we need to reclaim. And as far as the dump yard was concerned, the condition in the dump yard and was quite rigorous because the pH was 4.8 only. Because of certain exothermic reaction, there was production of acid over there. Sodium content was very high. In the mine spine area, we are having another kind of problem. The pH was very high and the sodium content was low. So at even at the different sites, we are having different kind of problems over there. So in total, we are having low available nitrogen and phosphorus, which are important for plants. Very low enzymatic activity, that is dehydrogenase as well as phosphatase activity, which provides the environment for the growth of the plant. And there was no nitrification because nitrogen is very important for the growth of the plant. And there was hardly any nitrification at these sites. So what we did, actually, we laid certain layers of normal soil over that spoiled area on the dump yard as well as the recycled sites. We created three type of round. On the first round, we laid 12 inches of the normal layer, normal soil. On the second site, we laid 24 inches of the normal layer and then 36 inches of the normal layer, normal soil. In this soil, we mix certain amount of muram. Muram is a kind of soil which have got comparatively high alkaline activity. We laid this muram along with the normal soil so that when the rains or water flows through it in downwards, it can neutralize the acid which is generated due to the exothermic reaction at the site. So these were the fields which were created along with the water harvesting system which was created over there. You can see these are the team members which were involved in this complete work. And then we planted 15 different plant species, which are local plant species, which were available at that particular site. Besides that, we grown certain grass also there. You'll find that these are the various plant species which were planted over there. All the plant saplings were prepared at the site itself. We created a nursery over there and they were planted. And then between these rows of the plants, we planted grass also. We spread the seeds of the grass over there. So we planted grass also. And this activity, as I told you, bioremediation basically involves enhancing the microbial activity. As that particular soil which was present over there was hardly having any kind of microbial activity, any kind of enzymatic activity. So basically, we provided an optimum condition over there so that the microbial activity can start over there. So after carrying out all these treatments, we found that the area which was having around 3 feet, that is 36 inches of soil, it provided very good results. And even at that particular site, we have taken the crop of bajra and guar over there. Although the yield were low, but the result were encouraging. So these were the various treatment which was carried out over there. And these were the 15 plant species which were planted over there. These are the various plant species which we planted over there for the phytoremediations of that particular site. Then after 2 years, we again carried out certain analysis and find what is the effect of phytoremediation. Now, this particular graph, this particular figure is showing if we take the soil from non-mined area, that is the normal soil which was available over there, and if we treat it with ammonium at the non-mined sites, then after certain days, the concentration of ammonium decreases. And with decrease in the concentration of ammonium, it has been found that there is increase. Initially, there is increase in the nitrite content, then it decreases, and there is increase in the nitrate content. Now, the condition is that usually the plant or microbes, they do not absorb nitrogen in the form of ammonium or nitrite. They require nitrate. So conversion of ammonium into nitrate takes place due to the biological activity which is present in the soil itself. So in the non-mined soil, this kind of biological activities are present. But as far as the soil was concerned, that is the lignite mine spoil was concerned, you will find that there was hardly any nitrification. Even after 2 years, there was hardly any nitrification. But on the modified spoil, that is the spoil where we carried out our modification, we get very good result. There was decrease in the concentration of ammonia with the increase in the nitrate content, which itself shows that microbial activity is enhancing over there. And once the microbial activity enhance, then the rehabilitation takes place naturally. Then the rehabilitation process takes place naturally. So this was very encouraging result which we get after 2 years. And then we carry out the complete physiochemical parameter analysis after 2 years. And again, you will find that now, as far as the result are concerned, they were quite in range. The results were very interesting, and we find that now the plant growth which was taking place at that particular site was very encouraging, and the complete process was carried out. And this particular process, actually, we started this project in year around 2009. Then the complete process, initial process took over around 1 year, and after plantation of plant, after 2 years, these were the result which we get. And then later on in 2016, when we visited that particular site, this was the scenario which we observed over there. These were the plant which we planted over there, and in 2016, and it was the area, the complete 15-hectare land was like a forest of plants. It was a complete, even the grazing animal have started visiting over there, which shows that the landers now can be reused, and we get very encouraging results at that particular site. So you can see that the plants are growing and the biological activity is at the full swing. So these were the results which we obtained over there. So this was the successful project which was carried out at the Giral. So as far as this technique is concerned, what are advantage of this bioremediation or phytoremediation technique? First of all, this technique is very economical than other traditional method. The site at which we carry out the remediation at 15-hectare land, the cost of complete remediation process was around 2.5% of the amount of lignite which was excavated from that particular site. So as far as the cost is concerned, this is very low for any purposes, because when we are considering the sustainable development, this cost can be considered as very low. First of all, then this treatment is carried out at the site itself. So there is no need of carrying any kind of material from one place to another place. And this also reduces the higher exposure due to transportation and other accidents. And then there is no other environmental impact as far as this technique is concerned. Although there are certain disadvantages related to bioremediation is concerned, because we need an organism or plant which are capable of degrading the pollutant or denaturing the solid waste which is available under the given set of condition. Then we need to maintain the growth condition for these microorganisms, because if we are not able to maintain the growth conditions, then it is not possible to carry out the treatment. So these are the certain disadvantages which are associated with this particular technique. So this was the publication which we had carried out from the study which was carried out at this site. That is lignite point spoil characterization. This was published in Arid Land Research and Management, and we had got good citations for this publication also. This complete work was carried out under guidance of hydrologist Dr. K.D. Sharma, and along with the senior research fellow Raman Pandey. They were basically hydrologists and engineers. Then Dr. Praveen Kumar, he was soil scientist Then I was associated with Dr. Praveen Kumar, and then Dr. Suresh Kumar, he was the ecologist, and Dushyant Gehlot was the senior research fellow under him. This complete project was funded by Rajasthan State Mines and Minerals Limited, Jaipur, and the rehabilitation work was successfully carried out at that particular site. And due to this particular rehabilitation work, the sanction was granted for the lignite mine excavation from that particular area, and successfully lignite mine excavation is going on in that particular area. So if you have any queries, you can ask. I hope I'm able to explain it. Is there any queries?
Dear participants, if you have any query, please ask freely. If there is no query,
So if there is no query,
I will end the session. Thank you very much, sir, for sparing your valuable time and delivering knowledgeable presentation. I think all these things will be helpful for all of us. Sir, actually, I have seen all these humps of solid waste in Ghazipur, and I was worried about it that we are growing, we are leading in our technology, but we are not sorting out these problems. So I think your presentation will help all of us, all scientists or researchers, to sort out these type of problems. Thank you very much again, sir. Thank you very much.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Dear participants, attendance will be monitored by WebEx app. There is no separate attendance form for each session. Please be with us in all sessions. Our next speaker will join us soon. Our next speaker is Dr. Prateek N. Seth from BITS Pilani. He will join us soon.
I'm kindly give participants 5 to 10 minutes for having some their tea, snacks, and other things, so that they will be relaxed. And till that, after 12, you can conduct the next session if it is possible on your side.
I request to participants that please stop your video.
Rajesh sir, Pratik sir is saying that he is unable to join. However, he had joined earlier in the morning, but now he is unable to join. Participants, there is some technical problem with our next speaker. He will join us soon. Gayatri ma'am, please start the session. Pratik sir is with us.
Ma'am. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Very good morning to all of you. I'm sorry for a little glitch, I was not able to join for a couple of minutes, but now it is
No
fine. I
problem,
joined
sir.
from
Thank
browser. Yeah,
Good morning, sir.
good morning.
There is no problem, sir.
Thank you.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome virtually join with e-platform of ATAL PDF September 13 to 17, 2001 in second session of day first. The current session is on hydrogen production technologies from biomass waste. Biomass energy is energy that derives from sources that were once alive. That means organic matter. It has rapidly become a vital part of the global renewable energy mix and account for an ever-growing share of electric capacity added worldwide. Biomass not only does it provide energy in its most basic form, but it can be made into other forms of energy as well through mechanical and chemical process. So today we have with us Dr. Pratik N. Seth, Associate Professor, Chemical Engineering Department, Birla Institute of Technology and Science, Rajasthan. Before we start the session, I would like to introduce our knowledgeable sir, Dr. Pratik Seth. Dr. Pratik Seth is currently working as an associate professor in the Chemical Engineering Department at BITS Planning, Rajasthan. He has brilliant academic record through with BTech from Gujarat University, MTech and PhD BITS Planning, Rajasthan. He has over 18 years of teaching, research and academic administration experience. Professor Pratik has around 50 research papers published in reputed international and national journals, conference proceedings, including book chapters. Dr. Seth has reviewed several research articles of various international journals such as Biomass and Bioenergy, Energy Conservation and Management, Journal of Cleaner Production, etc. Dr. Seth has completed 5 research projects funded by industry and DST. The research publications have received a total citation of 1,519 with H index of 14 as of August 26, 2021. His current research interests include pyrolysis, biomass gasification, modeling and simulation, and computational fluid dynamics, etc. Professor Seth was chairman IICHE Planning Regional Center and has held various positions. He organized a workshop on analytical instrument for chemical and environmental engineers during 22 to 23, 2013 and Feb 10 to 11, 2017. He was the joint organizing secretary for the 8th annual session of Student Chemical Engineering Congress during September 21 to 22, 2012. Now, I request to sir, please address the participants with your rich knowledge and experience. Please, sir.
Okay, thank you so much for such a kind introduction. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. I hope I'm audible and you are able to see the screen. I am sharing one screen. You are able to see that, everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers, Bikaner Technical University, and specifically the Dr. Anu Sharma for inviting me and giving me an opportunity among the other distinguished speakers. And it's really very nice to see when I gone through the various speakers covering various areas, energy, water, nanotechnologies, and really the theme is getting fulfilled. So I must congratulate the organizers for bringing out all the speakers. I'll try to do justice and try to cover the hydrogen production, that is the green technology. Let's see with the time we have it, how much thing we are able to cover. It's almost 12, so I think I've been given 2 hours, but I think I'll try to wind up by 1:30 only. Okay, so that everybody can go for lunch and attend the next sessions as well. Fine. Although in general, probably you may be instructed that you can ask the questions at the end, but if anybody has any questions, you can interrupt me in between as well. No problem into that. Okay, we'll try to address and answer the questions. Fine. So shall we start then?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. While I would be speaking, I may not able to see your chat messages because I'm using a double window kind of a system. So I would be looking at my PPT. Okay. So if somebody is putting question in chat box, probably I may not able to read it. Okay. So
No problem,
if something is, I request the moderator to ask me questions in between. If something is, or you want to stop me, or you want to have some other announcement if you want to do in between. Okay, I would not be looking in the chat box or any other thing on the Webex app. It would be running only, and I'll be looking at my presentations. Fine, thank you. So, right. So today I'm here to give a talk on hydrogen production technologies from biomass waste. The content which I wanted to cover is the thermochemical conversion of biomass, what exactly the biomass is all about, what is bioenergy, the thermochemical routes for the biofuel production, and there are the 2 major technologies are there. There is the pyrolysis and gasification. How to conduct the pyrolysis gasification, what are the experimental studies, how to carry out the startup procedure, and how to evaluate its performance. We are working on the biomass gasification and pyrolysis from almost, I think, 2005-06, and we finished almost 15 years. Number of publications and few PhD students has completed the work, and we are progressing in those directions, and slowly we are increasing our capability and doing the analysis. So next is the topic is like, because the pyrolysis and gasification is basically the base technology. It produces the either bio oil or we get the producer gas. From that, we can go for a secondary treatment or a secondary step for the hydrogen rich gas production. Or you want hydrogen pure, then there is a one more step would be required in terms of purification. But these two are the basic technologies as far as thermal degradation is concerned. So we'll be focusing on that. Then we'll take up the hydrogen-rich gas production through gasification. Now, when I say gasification route, hydrogen-rich gas production, it means that I'm in a meeting. I'll call you sometime later. Thank you. So that is the catalytic treatment of syngas for, okay. So I was at hydrogen-rich gas production through gasification route. And so within gasification itself, there are certain steps involved. Like we can go for oxy-gasification, steam gasification, inbuilt catalytic operations can be held, or tar cracking can be done to increase the hydrogen production. That is some technologies one can have it. And another one is a separate route, that is a catalytic treatment. There is a separate catalytic reactor one can use it. That is basically the water gas shift reaction and tar reforming catalyst one can use it. And we can go for the syngas for the hydrogen production. So syngas would be a feed there, and we can get the hydrogen rich gas there. And there are certain other methods, the novel methods are there at very high pressure and temperature. There is hydrothermal or supercritical water gasification. So those also we'll touch upon. So this is the content of my presentation. To start with, first of all, we'll take up the bioenergy and why there is a conversion required. So the bioenergy in general is energy of the biomass, and in general, so it is basically the solar energy stored chemically through the photosynthesis, basically in a biomass. So biomass is basically all biologically produced living matter, primarily consisting of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. It's a renewable resource and carbon neutral in its life cycle, because we can really regrow it and harvest it. And there are certain fast grow species are also there that we can use it, and that kind of agricultural carpeting can be also done. Okay, so that's how it's a renewable source. Major source of biomass are the plants, wood from natural forests, and agricultural waste. In fact, nowadays, many even thermal power plants are going for the co-firing and using the biomass pellets or agricultural waste-based pellets. Some of you may be knowing that in Punjab or even nearby Haryana also, some agricultural waste, the what we call the parli, that is getting burnt and reduced and producing the a lot of smoke. And when farmers burn that, it leads to heavy pollution. So using that, some pellets, and that pellets also can be used for the hydrogen production or gasification route, or those gas can be used. If not hydrogen, we can go for even the thermal power plant also, we can use it, or you can directly burn into the co-firing can be done along with the coal. If the proper treatment is not done, of those direct burning, then what may happen, that it's a very general thing that when you burn any solid, and if you are not grinded, or if the particle size is bigger, then it would be inconsistent and incomplete combustion would be there. So what is the issue with that incomplete and inconsistent combustion is that it is the flash, and or you need to trap all these things at the end of that. Okay, otherwise you may lose either energy, or it will go to the environment. So another idea is that can we convert the biomass in gases and liquids? So that is basically the conversion, and the need for the conversion is that we can the storage, the transportation of the liquid and gases will be much easier than the solid fuel itself. So the thermochemical and biochemical, there are the two technologies we can use it, like for like anaerobic digestion or fermentation or the biological route. But the thermochemicals are basically the pyrolysis gasification, which utilizes the temperature and pressure, okay, and catalysts. Okay, so those things can be utilized. Now the pyrolysis gasification and carbonization is nothing but at the low temperature pyrolysis. Basically, for the major product is the charcoal there, whereas pyrolysis in general is considered for the major product is the biooil. So what you can see that I would like to show a small chart here. There is the renewable energy from biomass. That is the resources are agricultural, forestry, municipal waste, certain component of municipal waste, not everything. Then the thermochemical and biochemical, as just I mentioned, and then you can get either oil or gas. So it need to upgrade or a clean up. Okay, and those things the cleanup or upgrade requirement from the particles point of view, or tar or organic point of view, or sulfur or NOx or CO2 or H2S or hydrogen chloride, or whatever the thing is there, from the base technology. So that treatment has to be done, the upgradation is required. And based on the treatment or the upgradation, what you can get is a different kinds of fuel biopower. Either you can use it for electricity, heat, or combined heat and power, or for biofuels. One can go for either from syngas, one can even go for the methanol or ethanol or dimethyl ether or fish drop liquids or hydrogen, or the synthesis natural gas, or many other bioproducts or biochemical. One can have platform chemicals, one can generate it. So in general, we can say that a lignocellulosic biomass, if I take the thermochemical conversion, if I give it, we can get, you can see now that a different technology and what is the product we are getting it here. So if I'm going for a gasification, I'm going to get a syngas, that is called a synthesis gas, or it is also called as a producer gas. Okay. So lignocellulosic biomass, which is low cost and greatly available, renewable characteristics, and what you see here, that the bio oil we get, or biopolyols we get it, and that we can undergo a hydroprocessing to get a liquid fuel, or the syngas can undergo either FT synthesis or MEOH or water gas shift reaction. So if I am going for the first two, I'm going to get the liquid products, or if I'm going water gas shift, the biohydrogen production, we can have it. Okay. Or if I'm going for a certain type of products, then another route one can have it. Now, so as you can see that in this particular picture, there are certain routes, like you can see that the steam blown gasification, oxy blown gasification, hydrothermal upgradations followed by steam reforming, air blown gasification, supercritical water gasification, pyrolysis, inline oil reforming, bio oil reforming, and pyrolysis slow or fast, and even. So the thermochemical routes there are many routes are there for biomass to hydrogen conversion actually. Okay. So which one you should follow, how you can do it, and that again depends upon the type of the biomass, the kind of technology, and what is the end application you want it. But these are the all technologically feasible routes are possible. One of the best route, if I'm focusing purely on the hydrogen, then I can go for this particular route. As you can see that whatever the biomass is generating, so it's a general understanding that the pyrolysis gives you either a bio oil or a biochar, right? Low temperature, high temperature, but it would not be there. It would be always there are three products are associated with the pyrolysis, and those three products are the certain pyrolysis gases. Okay, that would be a mixture of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and little amount of CH4 and hydrogen would be there. So that is the pyrolysis gases would be always generated. In general, when we go for the pyrolysis, those gases are not captured. Or if you want to really utilize that energy, you can, instead of simply flaring off, that also can be utilized further, and we can capture it. The bio oil is the another product, and the biochar is the another product, right? So bio oil is basically the liquid product, and biochar is the solid product, that is the leftover residue from the pyrolysis. Now these two, the bio oil and char, both can be utilized for, along with biomass in a gasification, to produce the producer gas. So the char would not be go for other treatment except then a gasification directly in the reduction zone, which can be utilized. And bio oil can go even for reforming, steam reforming can be done to produce the gases, or that bio oil can be burned in gasification zone because you really wanted to do a reduction of the combustible gases, and that's why also can be utilized there to give the producer gas. Now, whatever the gases are generated out of the three routes, you can see that one is through directly pyrolysis, then bio oil reforming gives you gases, and gasification reach producer gas. So all these gases can undergo the water gas shift reaction, because our ultimate aim, we wanted to produce the hydrogen. So in that case, whatever carbon monoxide is there, that can be converted to the hydrogen. So what exactly water gas shift reaction is? That is the CO plus H2O gives CO2 plus H2, and that can be hydrogen production can be there, and but it's hydrogen rich gas will be there because it still contains the CO2, and if there is a base gas, is a nitrogen is there in a gasification, air gasification has been done, so nitrogen will be there, certain amount of CH4 will be there. So but the pressure swing adsorption can be utilized to get the final hydrogen. On a similar concept, like biomass to hydrogen, there is a certain technologies coming up by with some academia collaborations by IOCL, and they will be producing the hydrogen, and that hydrogen at Delhi would be utilized by the TTC buses for, so that green hydrogen plant is coming up. So it is not only technologically possible, but commercially also a plant is going to come. Okay. Okay, of course it's a pilot scale. Right. So this is a broad overview of what I'm going to cover in detail, right? So now let us focus in detail one after another the things. So first of all, we'll be focusing on the pyrolysis, then gasification, then water gas shift reaction. Okay, so let us go one after another. So the biomass pyrolysis. So as you can see that, although already I conveyed you that what are the different products from the pyrolysis, but what exactly pyrolysis is that? That is a thermal decomposition of biomass. And so biomass is basically, all of you are very well aware, having a chemistry background, that the biomass itself is a mixture of three compounds. Basically, there is the cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin. And lignin acts as a binding agent and gives the strength to the biomass, basically. So when we thermally heat in the absence of oxygen, so if we provide the oxygen, it will be simply combustion, because it's a fuel, basically. But if I remove the oxygen part, so it is not going to combust. What is happening? It is a destructive distillation of that biomass is going to, a thermal decomposition is going to happen. So when it thermally decomposes, okay, that it releases the volatiles, and those volatiles, if I basically, that is called as the all vapors and gaseous mixture would be living. And generally it occurs at the temperature range of 350 to 700 degrees centigrade, and with the addition of it, biomass breaks down to condensable vapor and non-condensable gases. So I told you two things, vapors and gases. So why I'm using the vapor word, that is for the condensable gases, and there are certain non-condensable permanent gases also be generated, because what happens is that when biomass gets break down, it releases certain, like, the cellulose is a long chain polymer, basically, right, of CHNO. And when it decomposes, sometimes it happens that even it decomposes up to the level where you have the permanent gases only left. There is a carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrogen or methane would be there, or so those things are not going to condense, right? Or so, but what is going to condense? There are certain the carbon chain of 8 or 10 or maybe 15, 17, so, or even higher, that would be condensed, would be, and with the condenser, that would be condensable vapors would be, and that is basically the bio oil, basically. Right. So the pyrolysis gas contains, as I mentioned, CO2, H2, CH4, and certain higher hydrocarbons. And condensable vapors, which is to form as a liquid, which is known as a bio oil or a pyrolysis liquid, which contains a wide range of oxygenated chemicals and water. It includes many acids as well, and many alcohols. So it would be a mixture. Like, if we do the GCMS, we have done that GCMS of the bio oil. In our other study, I'm not reporting here, but just for the knowledge of participants, I'm showing that we divided into the three different fractions: aliphatic, aromatic, and polar compounds, and carry out the GCMS and try to find it out that what are the compounds are there. But truly speaking, it is a mixture of 200 plus compounds, to separate a particular thing, either through some extraction of things. Is like we can of course extract a certain type of compound, but not a pure compound, right? So other until unless you use some catalysis to direct a particular kind of product. So biochemical production itself very difficult task, rather than if you want to go for the fuel, it's perfectly fine, because fuel is always a blend, like even the gasoline or things, it is not a single chemical, right? It's a blend of thing in certain range of hydrocarbon. Fine. So this is the process in the product. So what are the factors affects the yield and the quality? There are the two things are there. So like how much and how good. So the temperature, that is of course the one thing, that is a 350, 700, what we wanted to do it. And the heating rate, at how fast the heating is there, or if it is a kind of a reactor is different, then the residence time. Okay. So I already discussed the biomass composition, that is the cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin. But another thing is, if I am doing the elemental analysis suggests that there is a carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay, and so we call as a CHNS analysis, and leftover rest amount is oxygen, right? So that's how we get that thing. So basically, we know that it would be approximately 6-8% is the biomass is there. Okay, so when I am producing a hydrogen of that, like 100 gram will not give more than 6 gram of hydrogen, because it is not there within that. You can't get more than that, right? So that's what is the if I'm looking for a hydrogen, pure hydrogen, that what would be the yield I am going to get out of it, right? So it would be, even if I am going for a pyrolysis, it would be even smaller, like a very small amount would be there. Now, the quality depends on, how pure the compound is or how good the compound in terms of certain performance parameters. That's what we can say that. The third thing is the biomass size. So size is basically if I'm going for a smaller size particles, then the heat and mass transport effect. Because why heat and mass transport effect? Because whenever I'm choosing a biomass greater than 1 millimeter of size, okay. So when it is greater than 1 millimeter of size, then what happens is the heat has to penetrate inside, okay, through a convection or a conduction, and within the pores, through convection the heat would be transported inside it, of course through radiation from your heating material to this thing. And so when the heat is getting transported inside it, and the volatiles will be released, and those volatile will pass through the channels and the porous material and comes out. So that is what the heat and mass transport effects are there basically. So it is not simply, but if you have a size lesser than 1 mm, okay, we can say that fairly that is kinetically controlled, and immediately it flashes into the volatiles, and whatever remaining would be the char. The time factor would not be there. So the biomass size, depends a lot. But again, if you want to decrease the size, what you have to do is that you need to put resource or energy in terms of grinding or size reduction. Okay. So that's what is the point is all about. So what happens because of that? If you have a higher size of biomass size is there, then the charcoal production will be more. The size, the char production will be more, because certain volatiles will not release till the surface, or they may condense over and again that, and coke formation would be there. So that's what happens sometimes. Now, the next is the type of reactor. So what are the different kinds of reactors one can have it? So it could be like, either it could be a fixed bed reactor, or it could be a fluidized bed reactor, or circulating fluid bed, or vacuum pyrolysis. So what happens is, because what is happening, if I take a batch reactor kind of thing, which is a fixed bed kind of reactor, what happens? You heat it, you got all three products. So continuously your vapors and condensable gases coming out. But what about charcoal, which is inside? So once your conversion is over, you need to go for a batch wise, like, that you take it out, put another thing and run it again. So, but rather than that, if I go for a continuous basis, either a circulating fluid bed or a fluidized bed kind of systems also can be generated, where fine particles are there. They are in a fluidized bed and continuously converted into the charcoal and bio-oil or the non-condensable vapors, and those separated through cyclone separator, and the biochar would be separated out, and that's how kind of a system would be there. Now, another thing is a vacuum pyrolysis. So vacuum pyrolysis is based on the kind of an operating conditions you maintain. So one thing is you maintain the nitrogen blanketing over the reactor, or another thing is you simply create a small vacuum draft inside it. So whatever the vapors are generated, that is simply carried away outside, and through blower you can create those things. Okay, and in that, upon condensation also you can do at different temperatures. So it's like a continuously separation also can be possible. So that's what is the vacuum pyrolysis. Okay. So this is all about the pyrolysis. But before going for the pyrolysis, one has to do a thermochemical analysis of this any biomass you pick up, because what you wanted to know in that, that is we call it as a proximate analysis. And the proximate analysis gives you an idea that apart from carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, or cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin, there is one interrelated parameter we call as a fixed carbon, volatile matter, and ash. Okay, so what happens is that if you have a more lignin kind of product is there, then you are going to get that is particularly for the hardwood, like more amount of volatiles would be there, volatile matter would be there, and if you have a more cellulosic compound is there, then the fixed carbon would be more actually. Okay, so that based on that one can understand, that whether the yield of the product is more kind of a bio-oil kind of thing or a more biochar will be there. So if I do have a more amount of fixed carbon, I should go for the biochar production at so low temperature, and because it is having low amount of hydrogen, oxygen also, that would be also complementing. You can see fixed carbon content also would be very high. The CH amount would be high in that case in comparison to HNO. Okay, so that's what is which gives an idea that kind of. So for to know about that thing, what one can do is we can do a thermochrometric analysis of the sample that we call as a TGA. So let us just spend a minute or two on the TGA, and then we'll move forward. This is one of the very basic technique. So what happens is the TGA is basically a micro scale, and in that micro scale, there is arrangement that we continuously heat the small sample, and that sample given a specific time and temperature profile we mention, and we provide the inert environment, and we have a data acquisition system so that continuously it monitors that what is the weight reduction is happening. So it is a kind of a system, as you can see it here. That is this is the schematic diagram where heaters are there, a sample is there, continuous weight monitoring is there, and data logger and furnace temperature is maintained through controller. And or we can something was wrong. Yeah, fine. So if I'm going for a kind of an instrument is the per kilometer photograph, and if I go for the detail, like you can see that the weighing balance at the bottom, there is the thermocouple, small furnace is there, and through which the nitrogen environment is maintained. Okay, and that's how it measures it. So what is the kind of results we get out of this? So you can have a cooling possibility also. So if you want to cool down the sample quickly, or if you want to heat it and then cool it again, you want to do it, or you want to switch the gas from nitrogen to air, so that you want to find it out how much carbon is remaining and how much ash compound remaining. That also can be done, and can do that. So that gives us the idea, right? So a typical kind of a results we get is this kind of results, where the residual weight fraction. So it generally, we can put small milligram of a sample. So let's say if I'm putting a 2 or 3 milligram of a sample, then if I take that as a fraction as 1, okay, 1 full, and if I how much weight is continuously reducing, and then I can see that as temperature is increasing for different heating rates, one can really understand that what is the kind of thermal degradation under what temperature range, what is happening. Okay, so you can see that the faster the heating rate I do have it, it is acquiring the temperature very high, and it residence time is low, and I'm getting a more biochar. And if I'm going for a smaller heating rate, like a 10, you can see that I'm getting the lower char yield, because you see that this is the char yield. This point is almost 20%, and whereas here it's almost 30%, to 10% difference I can see, right? So that is as the temperature is increasing. So what happens is the initially it's 0 to 100, or probably 100 to 130, or somewhere here there is a first dip I can see in the weight loss. That could be due to the moisture loss. Then there is again one more dip here around 275 to 300. So that is the hemicellulose, and then cellulose decomposition, and then finally the lignin decomposition, which is slowly and continuously it is happening. You can see that. So how much residence time it gets here, accordingly your final product will be decided. So you can see that here it's almost merging, there is an overlap here. But then beyond this point, there is a different way it is acting. Okay. So what you can do is this is the Jatropha cake which we have used for this particular analysis, residue cake. So we all know what is the Jatropha is used for biodiesel production, and the oil is used. So after extracting the oil, what is remaining is the oil cake. So this residue cake, we used it as a biomass, and we did the pyrolysis, gasification, and those studies. So my results are of that particular biomass. So this is the residual weight with respect to the time. If I see that, and you can see that with respect to time for 10 degrees centigrade per minute increase, what is happening, and these things, right? Because I am using the same scale like 0 to 80, so this is immediately dropping, but I can extend it to 0 to 10 here also like this. I can clearly see there are various regions happening inside. So in temperature graph can provide you better understanding with those aspects than time, right? So if I take if I really wanted to demarcate that at which point it is the rate of change is changing, then what I can do is I can take the rate at each and every point and then plot that differential weight. So if I do so, that you can see the differential weight, that is the percentage per minute, and the time I can see that we can see when there is a peak is there. Peak means that the change is happening, and when there is almost constant means peak is almost there is no change in the slope. And then again there is a slope is there, then again one more dip is there, then again it's constant, and then it is constant. So you can see here the moisture release is there, then volatile decomposition, the hemicellulose, then cellulose, then lignin. Okay, so this time temperature, if you see that, it would be approximately here 300, 350, and a little higher than the temperatures, and this is the char production. So this is the TGA studies and the results pertaining to that, right? But if you wanted to do a pyrolysis, what you can do is like, a lab scale pyrolyzer. Either we do have a fixed bed pyrolyzer. I just would like to show a schematic and then the picture of that, how we can, our system is so that is TGA is only micro balance, like, a few milligrams are there. But if you want to reuse a substantial amount of bio oil, 10-15 ml, if you want it, what you have to do is you have to use at least 100 gram or kind of a biomass, and then you can carry out the experiment. So this setup allows us to do that, and we call it a macro TGA. We put the sample here, as you can see it here, okay, and we can put the biomass here, and then there's a furnaces there, continuous weight monitoring, inert environment we provide, and 3-stage different condensers, so that we make sure that nothing is escaping out, and the flare of the pyrolysis gas, or we can do gas chromatography analysis also of the gases. Okay, so this is a kind of a system, and the picture of that, and the furnace, and the bottom here the sample. The inside looks something like this, where the upper reactor resting, and this is the reactor, the furnace bottom here, and then the secondary cracking here. There is again heating coils, we have put it here. There's one more nitrogen line apart from bottom. So we get typically this kind of results, like, we start the temperature, different temperature, and let's say 25 degrees centigrade, we maintain it to a certain temperature. Let's say if I maintain it till 400 or a 450 or a 500 or a 700, and then we see that what is the yield I am getting. So what you can see that, for this particular jetroparacetic cake, our results are like this. As you can increase the temperature, we get the product yield of the oil and liquid yield. But if you increase the temperature above than that, the liquid yield started decreasing, because it undergoes the further cracking, and the gas yield suddenly started increasing beyond this point. Till that point, gas yield was almost constant, but the solid yield was decreasing. So liquid and the gas liquid yield, solid yield was almost constant till this point, and liquid yield was increasing, gas yield was solid yield was decreasing. But beyond that, what happens? Solid yield almost become constant. You can see that, but gas yield increasing, and that is because of the liquid yield decreases. Okay, so this is again that what operating temperature you want to run, so that you can achieve. So if people are trying to use the biochar for nanoadsorbents or for further treatment or chemical upgradation, if you want a higher yield, then you have to play here at the lower range of the only. If you're going for very high range, you may get a better porosity or something like that. One can do the morphological analysis also, but the yield is going to decrease for sure. Okay, so this is about the pyrolysis and the thing. So now I hope the audience is well aware of the technology, the kind of reactors we use it, and what is the product. So now when we talk of the upgradation of this product, the things will be much clearer. Now, the next I wanted to take up is the biomass gasification. So in the gasification, what happens is, like, I would like to move to the next slide first and then come back here. So the biomass in gasification, we don't do a kind of a complete absence, but rather than that, there is a partial oxygen is supplied. So partial oxygen is supplied, so some amount of biomass gets combusted, and they release the energy. Now that energy released, this is, you can see this, like, you can see this is as a 3 rectangles are there. So inside most rectangle is a drying and pyrolysis. Then the outer one is the second rectangle is a combustion, and the third one, the outermost, is a reduction. So air is supplied somewhere the center one. So in that, what happens is the combustion happens. Now you see that the size of the rectangle gives an idea that what is happening. So most of the amount of the biomass undergo drying and pyrolysis, where a small amount of biomass undergoes burning. Okay, so with respect to that biomass, it produces this gas mixture. Okay, and it gives its heat to both, like biomass also, and to reduction zone where charcoal is there. Now what happens, the char comes via combustion zone from pyrolysis to the reduction zone. Okay, and the heat which is supplied, which is cracking biomass, producing tar, H2O, other gases, and char, and this gases again will pass through the reduction zone. So this heat will supply to reduction zone also and to pyrolysis also. So this heat, when it's supplied to reduction zone, the hot gases passes through the hot charcoal and undergo various reactions to undergo gasification, we call, reducing of the gases, and that produces the producer gas mixture. That is CO, CO2, H2, CH4, nitrogen, tar, and H2. The major amount is CO and H2, combining total 35% would be there, with nitrogen as 50 to 55%. Okay, so that's a good amount of energy. We get it and we convert it, and generally we try to get like almost 60% of the coal gas efficiency, or we can say the conversion is happening, the energy conversion I'm telling, which is there with the stored in biomass to when I'm using it as a oil or the gas what I'm getting. So now you see this is a schematic of the setup, like the drying happens continuously, fuel is supplied and gas is coming out. So you can see that air is supplied somewhere here in the oxidation zone. So based on the temperature profile, various zones gets created, like a drying, pyrolysis, combustion, and then reduction is there, and all this biomass resting over basically a plate, we call it a kind of a great plate, we call it here, and on that the biomass is there. So here charcoal is put initially, then air is supplied over, the biomass is dumped together, started burning, and the pyrolysis, some amount of char is continuously coming down. You shake the grate, ash falls down, gas comes out here. And that's what the conversion of biomass into CO2 by reacting biomass with a controlled amount of oxygen and or steam. So you can supply steam also here. And when we supply the steam, what happens is you get a more amount of hydrogen, because now what happens, the carbon monoxide get oxidized and it reduces the H2O in the steam, and you get the more amount of hydrogen. So if you go for the air gasification, you cannot get more than 60 gram per 1 kg of the biomass of the hydrogen. But if I'm going for a steam gasification, people have claimed that when they use the steam to biomass ratio as high as 5 times, okay, and then also you can understand that it is going more than that, and we get as high as 110 gram per kg of the biomass. Okay, so so this is the schematic of that. Let us go through. This is a different kind of a configuration where updraft gasification. So we have a lab scale gasifier with our place, and with cleaning units, and we conduct regular experiments and modify it, do the tar measurement, modify the setup. We supply secondary air, we supply the steam also, like saturated steam, superated steam, and different locations. The air entry mechanisms also change nowadays. We are conducting some novel experiments also, and tar measurements also we do it. So this is the setup we have, the basic setup we have it, and so as you can see that this is the gasifier, and these are thermocouples placed at different locations. This is the air entry. Okay. Here you have the steam entry, one can hide, one is a steam generator, and bottom there is a water tray, so the gas cannot escape out, gas comes from here, and this is a cleaning unit basically. So you have here a Venturi scrubber is there, and there is a filter we are using it. It's basically a sandbed filter with some biomass wood shavings also we use it to remove the water content of that. So the dry gas goes to the flare unit for checking how the temperature, how it is burning, and we pass through some intermediate tank, and then through compressor we bottle the gas. Okay, so almost at 6 atmosphere we can bottle the gas. That is the facility we have it here. So these are the setup. I think I should have used that while explaining anyway, but I think now it's clear to everyone. And so this is the setup here. You can see that the thermocouple data logger, different locations. This is the gasifier, the air entry through this compressed air line is there. This is the Venturi scrubber, sandbed filter, and the flare unit. And beside that, this is the compressor. This is the steam generator, and this is the cylinder in which we fill the gas which is coming out at this, through this you go that, and this is the suction line through which it goes here. And there's the syngas compressor and bottling of the cylinder. So this is the setup of the gasification for the hydrogen-rich gas production. So what are the parameters it affects, and how do we measure its the performance, that how much energy is getting converted, what is the heat value of the gas, and so there are certain performance evaluation is there. Performance parameters are there, and through which we can evaluate the performance. So what are the performance parameters, like is the equivalence ratio, low rating value, gas production rate, cold gas efficiency. Let us try to understand one after another quickly. So equivalence ratio is basically like you have the air to fuel ratio, like I already the controlled amount of air is supplied. So if I want to completely burn the fuel, the stoichiometric amount of what is the air required, and in comparison to that, how much air I'm supplying. So that is what the equivalence ratio. Generally, we supply 20 to 35% of that. So equivalence ratio is varied from point as low as 0.16, 0.15 people go, but you don't get much amount of gas production rate to be there. But if you go for the 0.35, that is good. But you should not go beyond that also. Otherwise, it is not recommended. It dilutes the gas a lot actually, because nitrogen content increases as you increase the air actually. So the low heating value, based on the content, it is higher. There's carbon monoxide, hydrogen, and CH4. Now, next is a gas production rate. We call it GPR. That is nanometer cube per kg. We simply do the nitrogen balance, and based on the GC analysis, what is the nitrogen gas is there, and based on that, we estimate that how much gas is produced and divide by biomass consumption rate. So we can then per kg of the biomass consumption, how much gas is coming, whether it's a 3 meter cube, 5 meter cube, what. Okay, that again depends on the equivalence ratio actually. Then you have a cold gas efficiency, that whatever the gas is generated, that is a gas production rate, multiplied by low rating value, divided by the total high rating value, the cross calorific value of the biomass, megajoule per kg. And based on that, we can understand that, that how much amount of energy conversion is happening. Okay, so how much amount of energy you are able to convert it. It is not always 100, it would be almost around 40 to 70% you get it. Sometimes people have reported even higher that, even we also got it for few experiments as high as 75%. So this carbon conversion is basically that, that how much amount of carbon is going into the gaseous form from the biomass itself. Okay, that's what the carbon conversion efficiency is. So typical results which we get, as you can see that air flow rate variation, the biomass, apart from residue cake in our article, we have published with different kinds of biomass as well, with different pellets we have used it, or we have used wood shavings or powders also, and we carried out different biomass. So here the results I'm specifically mentioning of the Jatropha carcass residue cake, and that is for different biomass consumption, different air to fuel ratio, and the equivalence ratio. You may see that it has been varied from 0.21 to 0.4. And producer gas flow rate we got is like almost 8 meter cube per hour to almost 12.5, and gas production rate is 1.58 to 3 nanometer cube per kg. And the lower heating value is 4.32 to 4.1. So it's approximately 3.5 to 4 is the value we get it, megajoule per nanometer cube. And the cold gas efficiency is as low as 36 to 75%. So this equivalence ratio plays a big role. So one has to little take care while operating this. So how much amount of hydrogen content we are having in producer gases, you can see that this is basically the nitrogen free basis. So if I'm doing the nitrogen free basis, the as highest, like CO is almost 50% and hydrogen is almost 30%, right? And for different equivalence ratio and the CO2 value. Okay. So you may see that the CH4 almost remains constant. The high rating value is, there is a small variation is there. Okay. And what happens is, even for different equivalence ratio, your cold gas efficiency varies. So we need to rely on that as well. So it is not only the high rating value, it is better or low. Okay. So you may see here that high rating value is decreasing at this equivalence ratio, and then it again increases here. And this is the error bar. You can see that here error bar is low. Here it is very low. Actually, it's very stable operation we are getting. But beyond, as we are going here at a higher equivalence ratio, your error bar is increasing. Okay. So that is basically that, the variation is increasing basically with respect to time. In our article, so those who are very much interested can go through that, and you'll find that, we have given the data with respect to, for a particular equivalence ratio, how with respect to time things vary, and how much hydrogen content is varying, and what is the effect of that. Okay, so so far we covered the pyrolysis gasification, and then now what other thing one can do apart from air gasification for that? So hydrogen rich gas through other gasifications. Let's have a look at it. So this is, I think, already explained now. So let us understand what are the gases reactions occurring inside it. You can see that these are all reactions occurring: drying, pyrolysis, combustion, Bourrard reaction, water gas reaction, methane reforming, tar reforming, hydrocarbon reforming, the steam reforming. So all these reactions are occurring, and you can see that there are few reactions which is the exothermic, and a few are endothermic in nature. So in general, you may observe that the reactions which is oxidation reactions are there, that would be more like exothermic in nature, and the reduction reactions are the endothermic in nature. One can clearly see that. You may see that the CO plus H2O gives you this endothermic one, C plus 2H2, then CH plus H2O. So these are all the endothermic ones, and exothermics are water gas reactions or Bourrard reaction. And the oxidation reactions all will release the heat. Okay, so that's how we can see the different kinds of reactions occurring. Then next is, this table compare the three different kinds of gasification advantages and disadvantages. And you can see that the air gasification, oxy gasification, steam gasification. These are the three different kinds of gasification one can do it by changing the gasifying agent. So where the combustion zone is there, if you don't want to supply the air, you can do a kind of enriched air, or a pure oxygen also can be supplied through cylinder. And along with air, you can have a steam or only steam gasification, or oxy steam or air steam gasification. We have conducted the air steam gasification as well. So what are the advantages? These are the single step processes, like, air is used as a gasifying agent to produce the syngas. Here it's a pure oxygen, and here steam is used along with air or pure oxygen. Okay. Now the advantage is that here, like, maximum conversion of biomass, we get it. Here there is a low tar content when we go for, because when we go for the oxy gasification, it increases the temperature a little bit, and but again we have to little more controlling is very much required. Otherwise the temperature overshoots and it creates the NOx formation, or sometimes the material requirement also we need to look from that point, the life of the equipment. If I'm going for a steam gasification, if I'm going for higher H2 to CO ratio, what happens is if steam is not because its endothermic reaction is occurring, the reduction zone temperature may decrease itself, and then it might be possible that if you go for a certain H2 to CO ratio, then it decreases the performance as well. But there is some optimum H2 by CO ratio one can go for, by which one can get really the good amount of hydrogen. Right. The disadvantage is it is difficult, but to necessary to remove the tar generation will be more. Here there is a separation of pure oxygen from air, because it's an energy intensive process and a costlier of air here. And for steam, like, higher CO2 emission would be there, but that's okay, like, but again it is a high content of tar also one can get if I'm going for a steam gasification. This is the comparison of this thing. Then this table shows certain recent studies in we have published recently a review article also in International Journal of Hydrogen Energy, and then one can refer to it, and you will find it out that for different technologies, different gasifying agent, whether catalysts are used or not, what is the temperature range, what is the steam to biomass ratio, what is the yield people got it, what is the tar content and the observation. So this is just I'm not going to read each and every line, but just for reference that I put it here. Okay, so the gist of that can be shown in a couple of slides now. One thing is the steam to biomass ratio and the gasification temperature. It has been observed that if more or is the steam to biomass ratio and the temperature, both is combined effect is there, except one or two. Mostly you observe that when the steam to biomass ratio is increasing, the hydrogen content is increasing. Then if I'm increasing the reduction zone temperature also, hydrogen content is increasing. But again, this temperature is a very crucial parameter. Like, you cannot simply say that I wanted 700, then it will be there. No, because it's a combined effect is there, because air is supplied, it creates a combustion. Now you don't have any other energy supply. It is only through combustion only energy supply is there. Now that energy is getting utilized by drying, pyrolysis and reduction. Now, if it happens that in such a way in your reactor, if it is not effectively transferring heat into the reduction zone, the temperature gas drop. Okay, if I'm supplying a steam at lower temperature, or a higher air is there, or a cold air supply is there, what happens is certain sensible heat is also lost to that gases, and that's why also temperature drops down. So one has to keep track on two temperature values, that is the combustion zone temperature, reduction zone temperature, while it is in operation. And based on that, if I'm looking for an very good performance, then I need to vary those parameters as well. Next is the steam to biomass ratio. You can see that the maximum for air gasification, it's like 60 gram per kg of biomass, not going beyond that, right? Or if I'm going for a steam gasification, then I can go it little bit here with steam. You can see that it has reached crossing 60 value also, and it is going till 80 or something like that. Okay, and this is air plus steam, or only air is going till very low value they have reported. Okay, and these are some other results with other studies, right? What we have done is our experience is we inserted the steam and directly the reduction zone of gasifier. We have a steam generator there, and recently we procured a steam superheater also. So because what was our experience when one of the articles you can see in 2016, which we published, that when I'm going for a steam gasification pure, what happens is if I'm adding the steam value, steam line.
Or may I interrupt you?
Yes, please.
There is a question in chat box. How hydrogen is separated from a mixture of gases, or is it used as suchi as a mixture?
Okay, fine. See, when I am going for air gasification, nitrogen is there. If I'm going for oxygasification, I'm getting the hydrogen-rich gas. So first of all, we need to do a catalytic upgradation of hydrogen, followed by pressure swing adsorption. We can use it, or some membrane separations. But as of now, pressure swing adsorption is preferred, and through which you can remove the CO2 and the CO, if any. That can be done. So what you get from gasification? Yes, it's a mixture. It is not a pure hydrogen. Am I answering your question?
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, so I was addressing to the steam. So the temperature plays a crucial role. I was telling that because what happens is when we added the steam, and steam was saturated steam, so it takes up the heat, because the operation occurs at around 700, 800 degrees centigrade, and if you insert the steam at 150 or 160 at 7 bar or 6 bar, then you don't get that enhancement. So we recently procured a superheater, and we are conducting now experiments with that. And but I have not incorporated the results here, but we'll be publishing soon, and then I'll be incorporating later. So what we have done, this gas, what I am getting, the producer gas, that we bottle through a compressor. So that also, there was a very much challenging task, to compress the gas actually and fill it, because of the hydrogen content is there. So we procured first of all on rent from Indian Compressors Limited, and then later on we procure it, and that also needs a lot of cleaning. We put certain filters, ceramic filters, and other filters at the suction line, so that it doesn't choke up the compressor actually. And it's a piston cylinder kind of, and it's not a centrifugal compressor. Okay, and that is a kind of the system we have it. So that bottled cylinder, what we have done in so next thing which I'm going to explain is the catalytic treatment of syngas for hydrogen production. So how we can convert all the carbon monoxide to hydrogen basically. Okay. So in this diagram, we now I'll be focusing on this WGS part. So the question which was asked that how to separate is the later stage, that is the PSA when can use it. Okay, pressure swing adsorption. We have not carried out that. We don't have that facility right now here, but it is a very established technology. So if we have it certain enhancement here, that will be automatically reflecting at the end also. So that is the reason we have not developed that. So how what to do in this water gas shift reaction? So in our whole setup can be divided into two portions. Like you can see that the first portion is the we have the down-route gasifier and the cleaning unit and everything, and we conduct the setups, produce the results, and the shown things. Then the next part is the compressor. So we compress it, and there is a gas cylinder, and then this portion is basically the next part, which is we call it as a the catalytic treatment. So in the catalytic treatment, what happens is the gas cylinder, or you have a model cylinder also, through HPLC pump, distilled water pass through, and there is a heating line is there, so steam is generated. So that steam plus this gas cylinder mix the gas line, goes to a preheater, and then it goes to the pre-fixed bed reactor. We have used high temperature shift catalyst. Is a commercial catalyst we procured from the Surtcami company, and that catalyst we used it, and then from the fixed bed reactor, the gas mixture comes out, condense it, so that you have whatever the additional water is there that can come out, and the gas can hydrogen-rich gas can measure the value from GCTCD, online GCTCD is there. So through which we can find it out that what is the enhancement it has occurred. So let us try to understand the basics of water gas shift reaction here. So basically, it's as you can see that reversible exothermic reaction, and it's performed in the presence of catalyst. Generally carried out in two temperature ranges. One thing is 300 to 500, and second is 200 to 240. So the first range is high temperature is kinetically controlled. High temperature is there, so high rate of reaction is there. But your what happens is that you don't get a complete conversion, because thermodynamically it will not favor. Okay, so higher temperature favors a better CO conversion. Faster would be there. Okay, but it will limit up to a certain extent because it's exothermic reaction is there. Okay, so what we do is it converts CO up to 2 to 3%. So you will get certain amount of CO will still remain, because thermodynamically it would not be possible to convert. So then whatever the gas left, that you can go for a new setup, like LTS one can go for, although we have not done it, but the one can do that. So the low temperature shift catalyst, and there is a separate catalyst is there which works at that range and that converts the CO up to even 0.1%. The equilibrium control, and that's how the low temperature favors the better CO conversion. So the two things are there. One thing is the steam to CO ratio, because as you know that you have a mixture is there, so you need to provide more amount of steam so that it favors the reaction, and the space velocity, that how much residence time you are giving over the catalyst bed. That are the two important operating parameters. So this kind of different studies people have done it, like you can see the reference here and model gas. Some people have used, mostly people have used the model gas, like you get a gas cylinder and from a manufacturer of your whatever range you want it, and the producer gas composition. As you can see that, like this is the model gas, and I have put here the certain composition ranges as well. And different catalysts people have used it. Mostly has used the iron chromium, okay, and a different company also, as you can see that BASF, ICAI, Satcami, and the various operating parameter variations what they have done it. So by and large, it is the GHSV and temperature and steam to CO. The three things they varied. And product gas composition, what are the results they got it? Those things are there. So in our study, we use the HTS catalyst here, and this is the residue cake which I have shown earlier. And these are the two other biomass which we have used. That is the biomass pallets of the two different companies, Live Green and EcoShakti. And the catalyst configuration, you can see that is the iron chromium 92% weight by weight and 8% weight by weight, and the size is 6x6. You can see that tablet kind of thing, cylindrical in nature, temperature range, and which is Shift Max 120 is the trade name, which is basically the high temperature shift catalyst. So our system, this is the kind of schematic diagram. As you can see that from the block diagram, I came to know schematic diagram of the same system. Where the gas cylinder is there is MFCs we have used, the Broncos made MFC we used it, and there is the HPLC pump through a liquid reservoir. There is a heating line and the preheater, which is we have this preheater and hold this fixed bed reactor assembly with ATS furnace, and the full control unit is there, followed by condenser and separator, and then JCTCD. So this is the picture of that. As you can see, there is a control panel here. The HPLC pump from through the gas cylinder bank is there, backside of this wall, through which the gases comes through MFCs here. And this is the reactor or a furnace through the top-down approach we are following here. So there is a almost a 2 centimeter diameter tube is there of almost 40 centimeter length. Tube is there, 0.4 meter approximately. So in the center of that, we put the glass coolant over which we put the catalyst, and the gas passes over it, and the GLS and the GC is there to analyze it. So the performance parameters are the CO conversion and the GHSV. I don't know how much time already I spent. Just let me. Okay, it's 12:52. Fine. We have still, I think, good amount of time remaining. Fine. So the CO conversion, how we measure it, the CO in minus CO out by CO in into 100, and the GHSV is nothing but the volumetric fluid flow rate at NTP in ml per hour divided by catalyst bed volume. That what how much ml of the is there, like from the CM cube we convert, and that's how we get it. And our inverse is the GHSV value we have used it.
Hello, Anupam.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir,
There is some
I
problem,
disconnected.
technical problem with Prateek sir.
Okay.
He's sorting out this problem.
Okay. No problem.
अरे प्रतीक सर कह रहे हैं मैं पॉप आउट हो गया हूँ, साइन आउट हो गया हूँ, जबकि मुझे उनकी स्क्रीन दिख रही है, या कह रहे हैं हैंग हो गया है और सब कुछ दिख रहा है उनका मुझे। ये तो अजीब सी प्रॉब्लम। हाँ, वीडियो नहीं, उनका वीडियो बंद हो गया, उनकी आवाज बंद हो गई है, वो कह रहे हैं मेरे को, मैं साइन आउट हूँ, मुझे साइन आउट हो दिख रहा हूँ मैं अभी।
Anupam, please unmute.
दोबारा ज्वाइन किया है। हाँ, अब मैं क्या करूँ, उनको राइट क्लिक करके
mic.
होस्ट बना दूँ? कहाँ
Hello.
है? चेंज रोल, मेक को होस्ट। हाँ, मेक को होस्ट है ना, और ओके कर दूँ, है ना?
Hello. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are audible,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yeah, actually what happens is some pop-up came and I was pressing the enter for the next slide and that got pressed, it seems. So I'm just opening my presentation again. It got signed out completely. I was at 79 slide, right? I think we are here, right? You are able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine.
Yes, sir. We are able to see your presentation.
Fine. Thank you. So the GHSV, our inverse. So our experiments, what we have done is like, the HTS catalytic treatment, we have done it. And we have used or we have to use a model producer gas also. So I'll tell you what happened actually while we conducted the experiment. So we varied the effect of 3 parameters are there. That is the gas hourly space velocity, then steam to CO ratio, and the reactor temperature. And one more parameter we studied is the effect of oxygen concentration. So what happens is when we tried the variation of gas composition and CO conversion for steam to CO ratio of 8 and GHSV of 1058. So this particular graph is for these two data. So steam to CO is as high as we varied from 2, 4, and 8, and GHSV we varied 1058, then 13, and then 2000, 4000 likewise. So now in this particular thing, what happens is you can see that the blue color here. Just a minute. Let me use the laser pointer. Yeah. So conversion. So you may see that it is from 0 to 15. Conversion is very low. Is hardly 6-7%. And the CO utilization, you see it is decreasing a little bit. CO2 little bit increasing, and H2 is little bit. So we were literally got a little panic kind of thing, okay, what is happening to our, we varied all the different GHSV, steam to CO ratio. And in fact, what has to be done is basically this catalyst is Fe2O3 and Cr2O3 mixture is there, and 92% is Fe2O3. In fact, we did the SAM analysis also, XRD also, and we make sure that it is the temperature, it is the value. And so we found that catalyst, there was no problem in that. But when we went through the reduction procedure, because what happens, the active part is Fe3O4, okay, the magnetite one. So what we have to do is we need to run for almost 1 hour nitrogen hydrogen. So first of all, for heating pure nitrogen 1 hour, so you achieve a particular temperature. Then nitrogen hydrogen for 1 hour, so the 10% hydrogen and 90% nitrogen will go for 1 hour again, so that the phase will be converted, and then you go for this particular operation. Now what happens is that if you go for more amount, then it will further reduce to even elemental iron, and it will not work. We have done the TG analysis also, but that generally happens at very high temperature. Like if you go till 600 and above that only it happens, not prior to that. So we checked all those things. That was also perfectly fine. But somehow we were not getting results. So then we thought, let us go for the model producer gas. So we procured the model producer gas cylinders, and then we conducted the experiments. And then we found that, yes, it is perfectly fine. Like the CO conversion is getting as high as 65 or 70. You can see that here the value for different GHSV is like 1356 to 5425. Okay, and for different, this is thermodynamic limited value final, what maximum you are getting, right? And steam to CO ratio 8. And then we varied for the temperature as well, and the CO conversion, the temperature effect of that is also, we are reaching high value. And we have done the plan of experimental study and this thing. So we are getting good results with model producer gas. So then we thought something is wrong with our either the gas itself.
Sir, there is a question in chat box.
Okay. Let me go and read now.
What?
Okay. What do you mean by bottled producer gas? You mean to say that it is put in container? Okay. Okay. See, gas is in cylinder at certain pressure. Now, when I say bottled producer gas, means in our laboratory through compressor at 6 atmosphere we fill, and that we call as a bottled producer gas. Now, modeled producer gas is again in a cylinder only, that is coming at 150 atmosphere, which is from a standard supplier. Through certain gas cylinder suppliers are there. They also provide you the mixed gases what you want. So that is the meaning of that. Is it clear now? Okay, fine. So let me go back to. Okay. So what was happening, when our gas was not converting, and then we found that there was some issue must be there. So then we searched through many literature, and then we found that if your gas has little amount of oxygen, because what was happening, we were not doing the vacuum out of that actually. We are simply filling that with that. So 1 atmosphere already air was there, 21% of that. And then when we put the more 5 atmosphere, we increase the temperature 1 atmosphere to 5 atmosphere. So 5 times volume of gas is getting filled. So with that, approximately still 5 to 6% of oxygen is there in that gas. And that was the reason what was happening, that it was showing a very little conversion on, and catalyst which was reduced form were again getting converted to Fe2O3. So that was the reason we could able to find it out. And then we thought, let us confirm that whether is it really happening. So with the model producer gas itself, what we did is we changed the oxygen value. We through another mass flow controller, we inserted the oxygen, and we changed the oxygen flow rate. We started increasing, and then we found that after a certain value, what happens is immediately our hydrogen started reducing, our CO started CO conversion increasing, but the CO value was decreasing, and CO2 was increasing. So what is happening? The CO got converted to CO2. Even certain amount of H2 gets reduced completely, and that is the reason we observed that it was going for more oxygenation, and that was the reason we are not getting the proper thing. So then we employed that vacuum, so we make sure that there is no oxygen at all into the cylinder, and then you can really produce a good amount of hydrogen rich gas. Okay. So this is all about our experience into handling the synthesis gas, producer gas, and the catalysis, and all these things. So now I'm going to cover certain aspects related to other methods of hydrogen-rich gas production, and what are the through literature survey, what are the things our studies and understanding is there. I'm going to present that now. So there are basically we can again have a single step or a double step process, or two-stage process one can have it. So in a single stage process, there is a supercritical water gasification. Now, what happens, particularly when biomass for the gasification or a pyrolysis, when we go, if it contains a moisture content very high, see, modeling will allow to use even 50%, 70% moisture content, but in true life, you can't really burn until if it is less than 15% or 20%, then only it will burn effectively in the combustion zone, and you get a good amount of the gases. Otherwise, it will be difficult to operate. Okay, so for those kind of biomass, when it is a high moisture content is there, then what you can do, you can increase the its pressure temperature above critical values, and the supercritical condition if you maintain, then water itself acts as a catalyst there. Okay, and that produces the fast and more amount of syngas. It would be high moisture content biomass can be utilized, and high energy input would be required, of course, for that. But you get hydrogen syngas there. Okay, that is one technology that is called supercritical water gasification. Then you can have in situ catalysis. Also, people have done it, the in situ catalytic pyrolysis, so that whatever the biomass is getting heated in absence of oxygen, the pyrolysis unit itself, you put certain amount of catalyst, but the catalyst is prone to deactivate faster and formation of carbon layer over catalyst, and it doesn't go well actually. Third idea is like bio-oil reforming. Like it's a standard procedure where bio-oil get reformed with catalyst into hydrogen fuel. Like naphtha reforming is a very standard process. People have used it earlier for hydrogen production, and that can be also used for that. So next is this particular method which I was mentioning, that it will be producing majorly the H2 and CO2, and you can separator is required either through a membrane or PSA would be better, because already you are operating at such a high pressure and temperature values, right? So here, apart from supercritical range, if you don't want to go for supercritical range, then high temperature upgradation also is there. Is similar to that, where you go in a lower range of temperature, that is 250 to 374 degrees centigrade. It's a similar process, and you get the hydrogen gas. So these are the two methods are there. So what are the different effects on that? That is like, is the reactor temperature, catalyst, residence time, solid concentration in the backfield, how much amount is there, what is the heating rate, what is the feed particle size. So in general, at laboratory scale, many studies are there. We have carried out certain literature survey, and we find it out, different kinds of biomass people have used it, and different kinds of reactors people have used it, different catalyst, majorly ruthenium based and or ruthenium with alumina based catalyst, or with different combinations also. And various operating range, you can see that everything is very high pressure, and the hydrogen production range, what they got it, and what are the observations. So article one can find out really more details of those things, like what exactly it is and what are different people studies things are there. Different catalysts people have used it, and you can see that there are the three principal types of catalysts people used it: alkali, metal, and carbon based. And hydrogen yield is good amount people have reported. Okay. Then the next topic is these are various other studies people have used it, and what are the advantages they got it, and what are the disadvantages. When I'm using a liquid based catalyst, like the NaOH, KOH kind of things, where the catalysts are getting alkali based are there, it is difficult to recover from the solution. Like once it is used and charcoal generated, then it is gone into the system. You need to really prepare a new system and that. But if you go for metal oxide kind of catalyst, that can be very easily recovered and regenerated and can be used again. Okay, so that is the advantage of metal oxide based catalyst here. It's very, very obvious and very basic in nature, but people have reported. The two-step process. The two-step process is in which, people have used it, like the gasification plus catalytic. That is what I just explained you, all the details of that. Then HTU plus steam gasification. There is a hydrothermal upgradation and steam gasification. Both things has been clubbed. Or pyrolysis and inline reforming. So inline reforming is like, whatever the vapors are there, they're directly getting reformed. So, and that, if I'm using it for that, then I can also go for the a kind of a process it is there. So then the next is the HTU followed by, it is basically what happens is the direct conversion is there, and various studies has been carried out. So it improves the quality of the, is used to improve the quality of biomass, and the temperature already mentioned this to 374. So direct conversion of high moisture content, and few researchers use this technology. There is one more thing is that hydrothermal carbonization, HTC also is there. So in HTC, major target is...
sorry to interrupt you, sir. You are
Pardon?
not audible, sir.
Am I audible now? Hello? Am I audible now? Am I audible? Hello? Oh, yes, audible. Fine, thank you. So similar to H2U, you have hydrothermal carbonization, HTC also, a similar technique. For major here, the focus would be on the hydrochar production. And the similar kind of studies people have reported. Then if I'm going for the pyrolysis inline reforming, okay, that in this case, it would be something like this, where the pyrolysis is happening. You have a vapor or bio-oil cyclone separator, and the gas is cooled, and this bio-oil again will be steam reforming to produce the CO plus H2, then water gas shift reaction, then CO2 plus H2, then PSA, and you get the hydrogen. So this is again another process where hydrogen production through pyrolysis route, the one in which you go for that, but better to go for the gasification route to get if your end product is H2 only. But if you have some already some plant is there where oil is getting generated, which is of no use, or if you simply want to fire it out, then one can go for this particular route as well. So what are the important parameters here? There is the particle size, operating temperature, and residence time. These are the three things are there. So the smaller the particle size would be better, but again, you are increasing the grinding cost. The operating temperature, the higher temperature, it is better. The percentage yield of hydrogen is more at higher temperature. That is already established in the gasification studies as well. And residence time has a nominal impact. It has been found that. So that is what happens is that it significantly influences the tar formation and the product distribution. So if you have a higher residence time, it further cracks your volatiles also sometimes. So if that is happening, secondary cracking will lead to more permanent gases. So that is what one can infer from that. So this is the certain studies related to that. Weight sludge, sewage sludge, rice, glycerol, legume straw, different kinds of reactor, catalyst or without catalyst, different temperatures people used it, and what is the amount of biomass, and those things are reported in our article. The next is, I think this is already covered, pyrolysis and inline reforming. So at this point, I almost at the end of my presentation, there is one more topic is the tar cracking, but if time allows, I can go ahead. Otherwise, I'll stop here. Maybe we have a few more minutes, or we would like to take up more questions. Shall I continue? Let me check the messages.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, fine. Okay. Yeah,
sir, there is one question in chat box.
Let me have a look at it.
What do you mean by bottled producer gas?
That I already answered.
Answered.
Yeah, that I answered. Yeah.
What do you mean by bottled producer gas?
Yeah, that I just answered a few minutes ago. Okay, so now let's come back here. The tar cracking. Okay, so the tar cracking is something very important task. Okay, what happens is particularly when we do the gasification, the tar generates in the pyrolysis. So what happens? The pyrolysis zone is created, and tar escapes out sometimes the combustion. So if tar escapes out, what happens is even sometimes one may feel that let us go for the post treatment, you can through Venturi scrubber and dryer, you are able to remove the complete tar. That's fine. But we are losing the energy in a tar. Tar is basically a heavy hydrocarbon. And if I'm able to crack that tar into a lower hydrocarbon range or CH4, or that gets combusted to produce CO2 H2O, and that if I'm able to reduce this further into that, my cold gas efficiency is going to increase a lot. Okay, so that is why in hydrogen production, particularly from the biomass, this tar cracking is one of the very important tasks, and it has to be dealt with. So what exactly the tar is all about? Tar is nothing but a tarry liquid, which we call generally tar. At high temperature, that would be in a vapor form only. It is a condensable vapor, and upon condensation, that is a heavy bio oil. That is what basically the tar is there, and generally it is generated into the gasification zone in the gasification reactor in a pyrolysis zone, and that comes out along with the reactor. Now, in general, the tar formation is in the range of certain milligram per normometer cube, and sometimes it is as high as 1000 milligrams. So it's like 1 gram per normometer cube to as low as 0.15 milligram per normometer cube. So it is In general, if it is lower than 5 to 10 milligram per kilometer cube, you can use that gases into even the IC engines also. Okay, so compressor and other things will not create an issue. Basically, the cleaning would not require. If I'm simply firing or burning it, then tar is not a problem. But if I'm going for hydrogen production, then why should I lose the energy into that? So that's what the tar is. So major tar is a major nuisance and undesirable product in gasification. As you can see, typical tar composition, you can see that it's all hydrocarbons, few mostly aromatic in nature, like benzene, toluene, then other naphthalene, 3,4 ring, phenolic compounds, heterocyclic compounds. Okay. And it's a thick, black, highly viscous liquid that condenses into the low temperature zones in gasifier, clogging the gas passage and leading to the system disruptions. Like, those when we conduct the experiments, we sometimes see that, the line gets chocked or gas rate is not coming or pressure is getting built up into the gasifier. So what has to be done? We need to clear those lines either through some chemical cleaning or mechanical cleaning. We need to do it, the setup lines. Although the lines are as it is 1 inch lines are there all, but still sometimes it happens that they get clogged, because of the tar. So it is the temperature we need to maintain, and the uniform air supply has to be there. So that is very important there. So what exactly the catalytic or thermal cracking one can do it? So we conducted some experiments with that also. What we did, below the reduction zone, we put the CO catalyst, basically, calcium oxide, and then we see that, whether tar is reduced or not. And certain experiments we conducted with that as well. So reforming, thermal cracking, steam cracking are the 3 major reactions, and they convert tar into area of smaller and lighter hydrocarbons, which is preferable. Of course, certain amount of coke also would be generated into that because it is very heavy. Tarry liquid is there, so it is having a CH and O. So whatever the volatile fraction is there, that will go from that. But remaining part is nothing but a coke, or certain lumps of the coke would be formed because of that. So you can have a 2 different kind of thing, would be the thermal cracking and steam cracking. Thermal cracking can be done where if you go for a uniform temperature, we have recently, a manuscript is submitted right now. It is not yet published. So I'll just reveal a small amount of that, what exactly we have done it into that. I'm just trying to get a pen out of it. Just a second. So in the combustion zone, particularly, what we have done is in a combustion zone, the air is entering from 2 locations, right? So what we have done is recently we prepared a small ring kind of thing inside, and we try to maintain the same velocity. And there are multiple entries, like 20 entries we created here. And that kind of study we are doing, so that whatever the pyrolysis, whatever the zones which is created here, in the pyrolysis zone, when they passes through here, make sure that the uniform temperature here is almost 800 to 900 degrees centigrade for that crack. So when we conducted this kind of study, I have not included here, but we really got very good results with thermal cracking also. Okay. So that is just I thought I'll share with you. Then there is the steam cracking. The steam cracking is basically what happens is high temperature and steam, so it gets reformed, and you get a steam reforming reaction or a tar reforming reaction happens. So that is what is we are in a planning stage right now. We have not conducted those experiments, but we'll be doing soon those things as well. So reforming, the catalyst can facilitate the tar reduction either by primary or downstream in a secondary reactor. So there are various catalysts like dolomite, olivine, alkali, nickel, and char itself has been found successfully for tar reduction. And these are the 2 reactions we have shown for the steam reforming and the CO2 reforming. There is a dry reforming, what we call it. Okay. So with this, I'm ending my today's lecture, and I'm very much thankful to my PhD student, those who does all this work. And there are 2 students who recently completed in 18 and 19. There is Tapas Kumar Patra and Rajiv Sharma. Tapas is working with right now IISc Bangalore as a postdoc student, and Rajiv is with Amity University. 3 students are right now currently working. There is Bhupendra Pandey, Pratik Sharma, and Bhavya. We have collaborated with NCCBM. There is National Council of Cement and Building Materials, Ballabgarh. So with that, and ME students, Itishri, Haman, Parth, Subhadeep, and Namrata, and recently right now Pavan Nayak is doing. Certain analytical facilities, apart from what I have shown, is like Rotavapor AS or TGA, DSC, HPLC, all these setups. And apart from that, these are a department facility, and we do have a central analytical facility where we have the element analyzers and all the PyGCMS, GCMS, LCMS, ICP, OES, NMR, all these things are there where we can book the slots and we can do it. So with this, I'm very much thankful to the organizers and Dr. Anu for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts and experience in this particular field. And with this, I would like to end my presentation with this quote, which is given by our Chancellor, Dr. Kumar Mangalam Birla, that shows the importance of the education. And that's the only answer one can have it.
I would like to request to participants come forward for any query or any questions.
Thank you.
I request to Murugan sir, please you come forward. Rajesh sir, please unmute the sir. If any query.
I think Muruganji has written SCWG. SCWG is supercritical water gasification.
Yes.
Yeah, SCW is supercritical conditions we maintain. Is higher than 22 megapascal and temperature higher than 374. So that conditions we do it. Okay.
Dear participants, write your query or question in the chat box.
Yeah, now I am able to see the chat box. It's very good to see that, very good number of participants is close to 100. Great. I hope participants must have benefited. And for more studies, they can write to me or they can even send email to me. I'm just chat box. I'm typing my email or even my mobile number and my details. Everything is available on my website. So you can, any further inquiry or thing you wanted to have it, you're always welcome to write to me. Thank you.
So much, sir, for sharing valuable time and knowledge with us.
Thank you. It's my
The
pleasure.
session was really interesting and informative. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, then shall I leave the meeting now?
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
As we know, India is an agricultural country. So a lot of biomass is produced in our country. And you mentioned the easier way how to produce energy from these biomass. And thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
This presentation will be beneficial for us and all the participants. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
If any participant has any query, please write in chat box. Okay, sir. I think there is no query. Thank you very much,
Yes,
sir.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar. There is some announcement for our participant. Next session will be start at 2:30. Please join before 10 minutes so that there is no connecting problems is there. Our attendance will be monitored with the help of WebEx app. And there is one feedback form for each day, which will share in last session at the end of the last session. Okay, in the chat box, not in WhatsApp group. Okay, so please be with us and thank you for your patience. Now you all can leave for 1 hour and join 2:20 p.m.